Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharidhari. Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharidhari. Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Kṛṣṇa Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Mohan ki jai, Shri Shri Galantai ki jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriyet Shratam Swakatha Kṛṣṇa Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayam Tasto Hyabadrani Vidunoti Suhatsatam Nashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhāgavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhakti Naishtaki. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be covering Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, chapter 3, the birth of Lord Krishna. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, chapter 3, verse 1 through 5. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ata Sarvagmopetaha Kala Paramashobhanaha Haryai Vachanan Janmaksham Santaraksha Grahatarakam Disha Prashedur Gaganam Nirmalodu Kanodanam Yam Mahi Mangala Bhuyishtha Puragrama Vrajakara Nadya Prasanna Salila Hirta Jalaruha Shriyaha Vijali Kula Sannada Stavakavana Rajayaha Vavavayu Shakhaspashaha Punya Gandhavaha Shachihi Agnascha Dvijatinam Shantastatra Samindhata Manamshya Asana Prasnani Sadhunam Asarudruham Jayamane Ajane Tasmin Nedurdundhubhyah Smam. Hare Krishna. For some reason I don't have the synonyms. Translation. By His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Could you? Thank you. I gave you the wrong paper. Hare Krishna. synonyms, word for word translation. Mumuchuhu, showered. Munayaha, all the great sages and saintly persons. Devaha, and the demigods. Sumanamsi, very beautiful and fragrant flowers. Muda anvitaha, being joyous in their attitude. Mandam mandam, very mightily. Jala dharaha, the clouds. Jagarjuhu, vibrated. Garam, following the vibrations of the sea waves. Nishithe, late at night. Tamaha, udbhute, when it was densely dark. Jayamani, on the appearance of Janardani, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Devakyam, in the womb of Devaki. Devarupiniyam, who was in the same category as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pravittabhi Vabhi. Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. Sarva Guha Shayaha, who is situated in the core of everyone's heart. Avirasit, appeared. Yatha, as. Pratyam Dishi, in the east. Indu Iva, like the full moon. Pushkalaha, complete in every respect. Translation. The demigods and great saintly persons showered flowers in a joyous mood, and clouds gathered in the sky and very mightily thundered, making sounds like those of the ocean waves. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is situated in the core of everyone's heart, appeared from the heart of Devaki in the dense darkness of night, like the full moon rising on the eastern horizon, because Devaki was of the same category as Shri Kṛṣṇa. This is a little different. Oh, sorry. I was reading the wrong one. The translation is different. That was a translation of 7 and 8. Synonym of 7 and 8. So, translation of 1 through 5 is, thereafter, at the auspicious time for the appearance of the Lord, the entire universe was surcharged with all the qualities of goodness, beauty and peace. The constellation Rohini appeared, as did stars like Ashwini. The sun, the moon, and the other stars and planets were very peaceful. All directions appeared extremely pleasing, and the beautiful stars twinkled in the cloudless sky. Decorated with towns, villages, mines, and pasturing grounds, the earth seemed all auspicious. The rivers flowed with clear water, and the lakes and vast reservoirs full of lilies and lotuses were extraordinarily beautiful. In the trees and green plants full of flowers and leaves, pleasing to the eyes, birds like cuckoos and swarms of bees began chanting with sweet voices for the sake of the demigods. A pure breeze began to blow, pleasing the sense of touch and bearing the aroma of flowers and when the Brahmanas engaged in ritualistic ceremonies, ignited their fires according to Vedic principles, the fires burnt steadily, undisturbed by the breeze. Thus, when the birthless Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was about to appear, the saints and Brahmanas, who had always been disturbed by demons like Kṛṣṇa and his men, felt peace within the core of their hearts, and kettle drums simultaneously vibrated from the upper planetary system. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his appearance, birth and activities are all transcendental, and that one who factually understands them is immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord's appearance or birth is not like that of an ordinary man who is forced to accept a material body. According to his past deeds, the Lord's appearance is explained in the previous chapter. He appears out of his own sweet pleasure. When the time was mature for the appearance of the Lord, the constellations became very auspicious. The astrological influence of the constellation known as Rohini was also predominant because this constellation is considered very auspicious. Rohini is under the direct supervision of Brahma, who is born of Vishnu, and it appears at the birth of Lord Vishnu, who in fact is birthless. According to the astrological conclusion, besides the proper situation of the stars, there are auspicious and inauspicious moments due to the different situations of the different planetary systems. At the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary systems were automatically adjusted so that everything became auspicious. At that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. Auspicious stars were visible in the sky, and on the surface of all towns and villages or pasturing grounds, and within the mind of everyone, there were signs of good fortune. The rivers were flowing full of water, and the lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. All the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices, and the peacocks began to dance with their consorts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, and the sensation of bodily touch was very pleasing. At home, the Brahmanas, who were accustomed to offer sacrifices in the fire, found their homes very pleasant for offerings. Because of disturbances created by the demonic kings, the artificial fire had been almost stopped in the houses of Brahmanas. But now they could find the opportunity to start the fire peacefully. Being forbidden to offer sacrifices, the Brahmanas were very distressed in mind, intelligence and activities. But just on the point of Krishna's appearance, automatically their minds became full of joy because they could hear loud vibrations in the sky of transcendental sounds proclaiming the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the occasion of Lord Krishna's birth, seasonal changes took place throughout the entire universe. Krishna was born during the month of September, yet it appeared like springtime. The atmosphere, however, was very cool, although not chilly, and the rivers and reservoirs appeared just as they would in Sharat, the fall. Lotuses and lilies blossomed during the day, but although Krishna appeared at 12 o'clock midnight, the lilies and lotuses were in bloom. And thus the wind blowing at that time was full of fragrance. Because of Kṛṣṇa's disturbances, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies had almost stopped. The Brahmanas and saintly persons could not execute the Vedic rituals with peaceful minds. But now the Brahmanas were very pleased to perform their daily ritualistic ceremonies undisturbed. The business of the Asuras is to disturb the Suras, the devotees and the Brahmanas. But at the time of Krishna's appearance, these devotees and Brahmanas were undisturbed. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatanam vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, in this chapter, the birth of Lord Krishna is described, and it starts with all the auspicious signs appearing. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport stresses that there is auspicious time, inauspicious times based on the planetary positions. In the previous chapter, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.2, prayers of the demigods of Lord Krishna in the womb, we discussed the definition of pure devotional service. So quickly recapping that and then coming to this chapter. Anya vilashita shanyam gyan karmadya navritam anukulena Krishna anushilinam bhaktir uttama. So uttama bhakti, pure devotional service, is defined as anya vilashita. It's not anya vilasha. So anya vilashita means devotee does not have any desire but to serve the Lord, yet at the same time he takes full shelter of the Lord, so at the time of danger to his life and other situations, he calls out to the Lord for help. So that's taking shelter. Anya vilashita, shunya. All other desires for sense gratification are shunya, because the focus is on satisfying the master of the senses, Lord Shri Krishna. Jnana karmadya navritam, and not covered by the speculative knowledge or karmas, the fruitive activities. Anukulena Krishna, anukul, in favorably disposed towards Krishna the way Krishna desires. This is a major point, because Kamsa had become Krishna conscious unfavorably. He was fearing Lord Krishna, and in fear he was acting as an enemy of Lord Krishna. And he had already killed the 6 sons, the Shatkarabha, the 6 sons of Devaki. And he was waiting for, the 8th son. 7th one was identified as miscarriage. So again, Anukulena Krishna, Anushilinam. So again, it has to be, favorably disposed, following the footsteps of the Acharyas. That is the definition of pure devotional service. Now here, in that particular chapter, 10.2, the demigods, they prayed, and those prayers are known as Garbhastuti. Garbha is womb, Lord is appearing in the womb of Devaki. And as described, we covered the verse, translation of 7 and 8, the Lord appears from the heart of Devaki. So it's very clearly described by Shukdev Goswami that Lord just didn't appear like a normal child. He appeared, through the heart. So devotees have heart-to-heart, relationships. That's what is said. Because Devaki was initiated by Vasudeva, her husband. And Lord traveled from the heart of Vasudeva to, again from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, and from the heart of Devaki he appeared. So sometimes people ask this question, where does mind reside? Where the lust reside, right? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, mind, intelligence, and the senses, that's where the lust reside. But where does the mind? Mind is subtler than that. So earth is gross, 10 times subtler than earth, approximately, again as per the Shastras, is water. 10 times further subtle than the water is fire. 10 times subtler than fire is air. And then 10 times subtler than air is ether, space. And 10 times subtler than that is mind. And it resides, it pervades the whole body, the gross body, the subtle body, as well as it expands to the shadows, as given in the Shastras. So again, that's just a reference. So heart is within that domain of the living entity. And Lord resides in the heart of every living entity. And which was, there are a couple of verses in Bhagavad Gita that signify that. Can you think of anyone? Where the Lord says, I am in the heart of everyone. Ishvara sarva bhutana dhiradeshya janatishthati. Right? So Lord resides in the heart of every living entity. And there is another verse, 15, Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto matta smritir jnanam abohanam cha. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto. So again, hridisannivishto, he is in the heart of everyone, every living entity. And not just the living entity, as we'll hear in this, there are prayers by Vasudeva as well as Devaki that happens. But this description before the Lord appears is very enchanting, because lotuses, they bloom during, just like they were blooming in Sharat, the autumn time. And that's also when Lord is having rasa pastimes, dance with the gopis, those 5 chapters later on. So at that time also, in the beginning, it's said that the lotuses bloom. Well, these lotuses bloom during the day and they close at night. But because of the Lord's appearance, this is Yoga Maya, serving the Lord to make sure everything is auspicious. And before everything is auspicious, some question. He was transferred to Rohini's womb, and so he made sure that everything becomes fearless, as all the devotees become fearless. So he removes the fear, Rama, which gives pleasure to others, the one who gives pleasure. So he gave pleasure by removing the fearlessness and making everything auspicious. And Yoga Maya further enhanced the atmosphere, the whole world, the whole material universe was ready to receive the Lord. And she made everything auspicious. The clouds gathered on the ocean. And there was very interesting, very mildly they were, lightning was happening, the thunder was happening, and just as in the rhythm of the waves, so everything looked musical. And with the lilies and lotuses blooming, the aroma was carried, right, by the wind. And everything was very fragrant. And the mind of all the living entities was very calm and peaceful. And all auspiciousness was seen, all the signs were seen everywhere. And looking at all this, the Brahmanas felt very pleased, and they were engaged again back in the fire sacrifices, the various practices at that time. And as they were engaging, the fire burned very steadily, and the breeze did not disturb. So you can imagine everything was auspicious. Just like the sun shines out. And Lord Krishna is referred to as Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hi Adhikara Jahan Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Radhikara. So Lord Krishna is just like the sun. And Maya is Andhikara, darkness, material energy. So wherever there is Krishna, there cannot be any Maya. There cannot be any darkness. Where there is sun, there cannot be any darkness, just like that. Wherever there is Lord Krishna's, influence, everyone is chanting, then Maya, does not have any effect. And it simply starts with the process of raising hand, chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. And Lord is not different from His name. So one simple way to directly connect with the Lord is chanting of the holy name. And here it is said that Kṛṣṇa, had caused a lot of disturbances. And the Srila Prabhupada describes that even in current times, materialists, demons, again, demon is referred in Bhagavad Gita, is very clearly defined, that a person who is just seeking sense gratification and constantly thinking that I have gathered so much today, I will gather so much more, I have destroyed my enemies, I will continue to provide us all in all. He wants to be in the center, the sense gratification, and his interest is in the center, her interest is in the center. So that's the definition of demon. And from that perspective, we have to be as devotees, we have to be very careful. And one of the aspects we cover is that devotees are fearing that anything inauspicious can happen in this material world. And one of the lessons is that in this particular chapter that we learn is that in this material world things are very dangerous. And even though, and it is very much like, Srila Prabhupada compares it with the time when Krishna was appearing. Before that, how fearful situation was there. Kṛṣṇa was killing children, right? Sons of his own sister, first cousin, Devaki. And Srila Prabhupada compared it with the current society where people are killing children in the womb itself, abortion. So that is such a sorry state. And it's a demonic mentality that's causing them. In illusion, they are thinking that they are all in all. And so they are doing this, which is causing great sins and offenses. And this will increase, more disturbances in the life. Another thing is, the Brahmanas, very, very highly regarded, and they were respected. In today's time, in the Kali age, they're very, again, it is said that Brahmanas, they would deteriorate, which we saw that in the old, early phases, many of the Brahmanas, they were just in name Brahman only. Kala, as they will be identified just when they don't practice devotional service, they will just be identified with Janevu. So they are like pseudo-Brahmanas, they are not really Brahmanas. They're just carrying Janevu and saying that they are Brahmanas, but do not have any samskar of Brahmana. Now somebody says, wait a minute, I'm born Brahmana. Right? Then you can refer to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam's reference on Kala Shudra Sambhava. In Kali age, then everyone is born Shudra to start with. So again, and many objections can be raised regarding Lord Krishna's birth. But before discussing all those objections, it's interesting to see that it's reminding me of Srila Prabhupada's times, because today we had some challenges with pronunciation. And I was listening to some of the lectures from some of his disciples. And one of the things is, I saw that many of them was calling Vasudeva as Vasudev, right? And it reminded me of an incident that sometimes, people who are very literate, they have studied too much, they start to criticize devotees just because of different pronunciation. They sometimes even criticize gopis also. Why they can't pronounce Krishna? Why are they calling him Kanha? So, people who become too much, covered by the knowledge sometimes do this. And there was one such incident where Srila Prabhupada, he asked Yamuna Mataji to sing Brahma Samhita. And she started singing, and she only knew the first 5 verses, so she continued singing. And at that time, right after the 5th verse, he said, stop. And she was so glad. And at that time, Srila Prabhupada was studying an Indian gentleman, seeing how nicely they have learned Brahma Samhita and the prayers and so forth. They said, to the Indian gentleman, he said, well, that's all right, but their pronunciation is short. What he means is that the pronunciation is not very good, it's not, the accent and all that stuff. Srila Prabhupada's simple response was, the pronunciation may be short, but the renunciation is perfect. Right? And Lord Krishna is Bhavgrahi Janadana. Bhavgrahi Janadana. So he is Bhav, he looks at the essence, the mood with which one approaches him. Shri Shri Gaura ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai. Shri Shri Sita Ram Krishna Hanuman ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Anant Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Yet at the same time, once again, we should not use this particular incident as an excuse to continue to pronounce incorrectly. We should make effort to learn how to pronounce correctly. Even in Srila Prabhupada's pronouncing sometimes, Saraswati, people call it Saraswati, which is Saraswati Devi, Gaurvani Pachayani, not Saraswati Devi. So again, we should continue to learn, improve ourselves, yet at the same time remember that when we approach the Lord, whatever little time we have, we approach Him sincerely. There is common understanding, and sometimes some devotees, they say, fake it till you make it. Right? Well, that's a little dangerous, because there is an aspect when you fake it, that means you are not being sincere. Rather, better approach would be to take it sincerely, take it till you make it. Take it sincerely, and you will make it. Right? So that should be the approach. Take it till you make it, and take it sincerely, even if you have little time, but keep it focused on Lord Krishna. Keep it focused in devotion service. So that should be the attitude. That's one of the lessons. So, as everything is auspicious, and everything is coming out so nice, there is one more aspect. In the previous chapter in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said that Lord Balaram was only 15 days older than Lord Krishna. And then I was just checking, because somebody asked me, is it 15 days, 15 years, 15 months, which one is it? So I checked, and they said Janmashtami is on August 11th. Well, just before that is Purnima, on August 3rd, which is Balaram's Jayanti. So that's like 8 days difference. So if it is in days, then maybe it's 8 days. If they wanted to keep the difference, because he was transferred to Rohini and then he appeared in the mind of Vasudeva, so Sankrishna was transferred over. It could be 1 year, 8 days, but the difference between the birthdays, I'm not saying about the years, is 8 days. Balaram on Purnima and then Lord Krishna on the 8th day of the Krishna Paksha, the waning moon. So here, as Lord appeared from the heart of Devaki, it's very nicely explained, that when he appeared, he did not appear like a normal child, normal human child. He appeared in a four-arm form, and he was bedecked with jewels, right? And he was shining because he was in his yellow garments, yellow silk garments. Now what is Lord Krishna? There's another thing. Sometimes people say, why is Lord Krishna always wearing yellow? Right? We dress deities with so many different colors. Today they are dressed with blue. Lord Krishna has been again and again referred to as being dressed in yellow. Does anyone know the reason why his favorite color is yellow? Yes. Tattva Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. So the golden color, the yellow color is the color of Radharani. She has a complexion of molten gold. And so Radharani also likes to wear color that resembles Lord Krishna's complexion. So that's her favorite color. So here, as Lord appears in his four-arm form, and are his hands empty? No. He is holding Gada, Chakra, Padma and Shankha. Just like Lord Vishnu is appearing, but in the form of a baby, four-arm form, fully bedecked with jewels, and his body effulgence made everything bright like day. So previously we heard that, endowed with the effulgence of the Lord, Vasudeva shone like sun. And then when the Lord was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to Devaki, she shone like sun. She was looking so beautiful that Kṛṣṇa was so fearful. Yet at the same time understanding that his glories would be vanquished and he would have to suffer in his condition, he did not kill her. He waited for the right moment. And now Lord appeared at midnight. And somebody could say, so there are various objections somebody could raise. They have been discussed. And they are all wonderful, that the Lord is appearing decorated. There is another personality who did appear decorated with some ornaments on him during the same time. Do you know who that was? Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa appeared with his kavach and kundala. Earrings, yes. And Kavach, does anyone know the reason why he appeared with that Kavach? Yeah, the shield. Sasta Kavach, Tambodbhava, demon, had all his 999 shields destroyed by the 999 rishis. And just before the last one would be destroyed, he ran and took shelter of Sun God. And then Sun God did not give him to 999 rishis when they asked for him. So he got cursed. So Kṛṣṇa was two personalities in one. When people are getting attracted by Kṛṣṇa, they are looking at the quality of Sun God, right? And then when they are all the activities that are demoniac being performed by Sun, including his association, that's because of Tambodbhava demon. So again, that's just little background. So here, Lord Kṛṣṇa is appearing in this form, not like a normal child. Why is he doing that? This is to inform Vasudeva and Devaki that I am Lord Vishnu, right? And so as soon as Vasudeva sees him, sees the child, he is struck with wonder. And he says that it's not very wonderful that you appeared from the womb of Devaki. Because now he is removing that doubt. So Shukdev Goswami is explaining to Parikshit Maharaj that he is removing this doubt that Lord can appear like a normal child if he wants to. He can do anything. So, and then he gives the reference that it's not very wonderful because you lie down as Mahavishnu on the causal ocean. And there, from your breathing and the pores of your body they come out many millions and millions of universes, they appear. And then you expand and enter into each of these universes as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And further you expand as Shirodakshaya Vishnu and enter into the heart of every living entity and also in every atom and even places between atoms. So that's given in early chapters. So he's all pervading. Aham sarvasya prabhu matta sarvam pravartate. So that has been already in 10.8. Lord Kṛṣṇa says that everything is in me and I am in everything, yet I am not everything. So again, that's another aspect. So he is the source of all spiritual and material worlds, and everything emanates from Lord Kṛṣṇa. So Vasudeva is expressing that this is not very wonderful. So people who get surprised. Yet at the same time, Vasudeva, when he saw his son born, he was afraid initially. He was fearing that now Kamsa will come to know and he will come and kill the child. Yet at the same time, seeing his child, who is none other than Lord Vishnu, Lord Kṛṣṇa, he becomes fearless. He is not afraid anymore. So that is because he realizes that this is none other than Lord Vishnu. And at the same time he is thinking that it is so amazing, so wonderful that Lord Kṛṣṇa is my son. So Lord, he chooses his parents, that Lord reveals afterwards. Unlike normal living entities, we, the living entities, we are giving our parents based on our past karmas. And in Bhagavad Gita, there are a couple of verses that reveal that, which are can you remind me of one of the verses? Can you say? Of Lord Kṛṣṇa, that's again, of living entity taking birth, next birth because of the dream. It's called Yam Yam. Yummy verse. Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam Tajatya Anta Kalevram Tam Tam Eveti Kantaya Sada Tad Bhava Bhavita. So as one thinks at the moment of, the last moment of his life, at the moment of death, that based on that thought, the mind takes one to the next birth. So one gets 40. Hare Krishna. And so the living entities get birth based on their previous karmas. So because it said that, at the last moment of your life, the moment of death, everything what you did in your life passes through. and through your memory. And if you engage in devotional service, you are immediately attracted to the lotus feet of Lord, and that is Antakale Chamava Smaran Muktva Kalevam Yaha Prayati Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Yati Nasatara Samshaya. So whoever thinks of me at the last moment will come back to me. And of this there is no doubt, samshaya, asamshaya. Now, Devaki appeared like a demi-goddess. And then it said that she was of the same quality as Lord Krishna. So, Jivira Surupaya Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tattva Shakti, Veda Veda Prakash. Yet at the same time, there is a reference given that she was of the same Tattva as Lord, which refers to Vishnu Tattva. So I'm just referring to what has been given in the purport. So Vasudeva, he starts praying to the Lord because he is thinking that Lord has appeared as my son. In a family of a Kshatriya, if a son is born, then there is great celebration. Then when Lord has appeared, I should have been preparing for so many millions and millions of births, times for this festivity. But since he was in shackles in the prison of Kṛṣṇa, he could not do that. So he immediately donated in his mind hundreds of thousands of cows to the Brahmanas. And so he was praying, and his praying is very philosophical again, talking about the gross body, material elements, material energy. And he's referring to, again, that Lord, you cannot be covered by Maya. This actually reminds me of a couple of instances. Sometimes people say that if Krishna is Suryasana, then why is there a shadow? Right? Well, if you're facing the sun, then you cannot see your shadow. You have to face against the sun. So this is the reason we are in this material world, because we became Bahirmukhi. We turned our back to Krishna, right? So when you turn your back to sun, you face the other way, then you can see the shadow. So that's Maya, right? So if you are facing Krishna, there cannot be any influence of Maya, you cannot see any darkness. It is when you are looking for sense gratification, that's when you see darkness. So, after Vasudeva finishes his prayers, that it is not very wonderful that you have appeared. And you have appeared as a son, as my son, which is so amazing. Yet, Lord can do what he feels like. Devaki starts praying. And both of them were very, very fearful. Even though they knew that Kṛṣṇa cannot kill, Kṛṣṇa, still they were fearful, and that is because of their affection. This is an influence of Yoga Maya. See, sometimes even puts devotees in illusion or, influence that they forget that they are, devotees, and they are more in that relationship. So from that relationship perspective, both are still fearful. And they will pray to the Lord that please change your form from Purāṇa to a normal child, because if Kṛṣṇa sees you, he will know that you are Vishnu. And then he will come and try to kill you. And so she is saying, and she is referring to the Lord as Madhusudana. So, the killer of Madhu demons. And Madhu was like this particular demon, and Mura and so many other demons were 1,000 times more powerful than Kṛṣṇa. Yet at the same time, because of the affection as mother, she is saying that please change your form, fearing that her brother will come and kill the child. And her perspective was, if the Lord changes himself into a normal child, she will try to hide him somewhere. Again, mother's feelings are like she will try to hide him somewhere, try to find a solution to save the Lord. And here, Vasudeva, and Devaki, after their prayers are over, Lord responds. Lord appears in his four-armed Vishnu form. And he says that this is not the first time I have come as your son. Earlier, when you were the Prajapati, when you were Vrishni, and Vasudeva was Sutapa, your husband and wife was Prajapati, at that time, you are asked to increase progeny. And so you perform austerities, severe austerities. Now these austerities were that they would not eat anything except fallen leaves. So they would even be so compassionate, they would be so compassionate towards the trees that they would not pluck a single leaf from the tree. The leaves that had fallen from the tree normally, the dried leaves, right? Dried leaves fallen. They would just eat that to sustain their body. And constantly meditating on the Supreme Lord, constantly 24/7 engaging in devotional service. And for how long did they do this? For 12,000 celestial years. One day of those celestial years is 6 months of earthly duration. So, such long duration, they perform this austerity and devotional service, constantly engaged. And Lord says that you are pure because of those austerities that you perform. And so at that time, I asked for you to have a boon, and you asked for me to be your son. So Lord chooses his son, and so he accepted Sutapa and Kṛṣṇa as his parents at that time. And he was known as Kṛṣṇa Garbha. Now in second, he says that later on, when Vasudeva appeared as Kashyapa and Devaki as Aditi, at that time he appeared as the 12th son, Upendra. And since his body was that of the size of a midget, he appeared like a midget, he's known as Vaman Deva. And then this is the third time I'm appearing as Kṛṣṇa in my original form, as your son. So Lord chooses his parents, unlike living entities who are forced to get the parents based on their past activities and by the influence of Mahamaya, the external potency. That's another difference that in the next chapter we'll be hearing about the difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya. And sometimes people think that Mahamaya, the external potency, is same as Yogamaya, who is the internal potency, an expansion of Radharani. And Yogamaya means, again in the previous chapter, chapter 2, there was a reference given that Yogamaya will be named by many names. So she has many names, including Durga, Ambika. Yet at the same time, Mahamaya also shares those names. So people get confused. They are worshipping Mahamaya at times, thinking that they are worshipping Yogamaya. So there is a difference. Mahamaya is Parvati in a Kshatrani form, with weapons. And she is the wife of Lord Shiva. Yogamaya is the internal potency, who is managing all the affairs in the spiritual world. And every time Lord appears in the material universes, she also arranges the whole environment to be suitable for his appearance and his pastimes. So here, Lord is revealing to them that this is the third time I have taken birth. And then he gives them instructions that you should take me to Gokula. And there, exchange me, because Yashoda has just given birth to a daughter. So you should exchange me with that daughter and bring that daughter here. So having said that, somebody could say, wait a minute, how are they going to do it? With a trident in her hand. She's busy in this activity, killing demons and all. And there was a Lord Shiva who is meditating, he's thinking of someone, so he cannot be. But then he went to Radha Kṛṣṇa temple. He looked at them, like, oh, they're dancing, they have nothing to do. They're just dancing. So this must be God and Goddess, right? Lord and his consort. So Lord Kṛṣṇa and Radharani, they're always dancing. So if you look at them, Lord is playing his flute, Radharani is always in a dancing mode, and Srila Prabhupada said that if this dancing stopped, then everything is finished. So they're constantly dancing, eternally, They're constantly enjoying. They have nothing to do. So Yogamaya arranges everything. So what does she do? She releases Vasudeva from the shackles, the iron shackles he is in, all the chains. She opens the door, all the guards, everyone is fast asleep. And Vasudeva very nicely picks up. Now Lord appears again, takes the form of the baby. Vasudeva picks up the baby, carries it, and outside it's torrents of rain. It's raining cats and dogs, like we say. Right? So if it's raining so heavily, would people go out at midnight? No. Everyone will be inside their houses, right? So Vasudeva has no problem walking in unseen, right? Not being noticed. Yet at the same time, he is walking in torrents of rain. So Shesha, he appears with his hood, he covers so that Vasudeva does not feel any impediment in taking his baby. And now he has to cross River Yamuna. And River Yamuna is having huge waves because she has this desire to touch the Lord's feet. Right? So Vasudeva is walking in, and is going in the waters. And now River Yamuna wants to touch the Lord's feet. So she is having strong waves with all this torrents of rain and everything that's going on. And yet at the same time, Vasudeva does not go and, once again, he doesn't, what do you say, when you're in the water, he doesn't completely sink through once again. He is able to pass through, basically, the river. He did not drown. Yes, he walked through the river. He did not drown. Thank you. So, as he crosses the Yamuna, he walks over, and all the covered men, everyone is fast asleep. Vasudeva is even able to enter the house of Nanda Maharaj. He is able to even enter the room where Yashoda Mai has just given birth to a baby girl. And he immediately exchanges, he puts Kṛṣṇa down and picks up the baby girl. And this is when Vishnu Purāṇa, the reference is given that as soon as he does that, Lord, he is not able to see Lord Kṛṣṇa, and who he has in his hand is Vasudeva Kṛṣṇa. And Kṛṣṇa is there, unseen. And they both merge, and suddenly the baby is two-arm form. And he is very pleased that, oh, Lord is taken two-arm form, not easily recognizable now, just like a normal baby. And he picks up the baby girl, and then he brings back and gives the baby in the hands of Devaki in her lap, and then puts his shackles back on, and everything is as it was. So this is where the chapter ends. So as we understand in the spiritual chapter, so many wonderful pastimes are happening, so many amazing things are happening, and they're all happening because of Lord's potency, internal potency, Yoga Maya, who's doing it to satisfy the Lord and carry out his pastimes and instill fearlessness in the heart of the devotees. So if you want to invite Lord and become fearless, all we have to do is raise our hand and chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we should take to the process sincerely, and we will make it. Lord says, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishashmi Mahashicha. So, give up all varieties of religion and just surrender to His lotus feet, and Lord will eradicate, will remove all our sins, and will give us shelter, and will take us back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Kṛṣṇa Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnavrind ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
This is Darshan from ISKCON of DC. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai. श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय।